not many boat yards that have actual cannons and bollards.
Look at that, that's incredible. So we can now basically walk through the boat effectively. So this is the stuff you're turning into boat interiors?
Exactly.
Wow.
7 tons of hardwood per week.
No way.
Every week is used.
Wow, you get a real sense of the scale from here, don't you? Look at the people in it. I mean, they look like ants almost.
The cars you can see on the left are Princess owned police cars.
No way.
We build just under 2,000 miles of cable in here every single year. To make an S80 is about 35,000 man hours. We've always got to put into perspective how big the plant is here.
Yes.
I know I'm not tall, but I think we're...
That's a big crane. Wow, they are works of art all on their own, aren't they? Look at that.
5 boats on the left are all 80. We have another 80 here. We have 180 just ready to come out. We've got 180 on that side, and in fact there's another one in the back of the shop alongside 285. So quite a lot of boats in one shed and all very big.
And how many factories have you got in total?
7 in total.
Right. Employing how many people?
3,300 people.
Wow.
Yeah, 1 million square feet of undercover manufacturing.
But there's quite a lot of road work in here. The roads around the place, isn't there?
Very much so, yeah.
So surely we could nip back later, get a couple of those police cars, do a bit of a chase. I mean, because, you know, private ground.
They are tracked.
I am so excited to be bringing you a video today from Princess Yachts. This one you're going to find absolutely fascinating because we're going to show you everything that goes into building a luxury yacht and why they cost so much money. Now we're down at the customer room. This is where customers come to spec their boats or to see their boats in build. And we are meeting Ross, who is a regional sales director. Hello, Ross.
Hello, how are you?
Ross is our host today, and we've also got Luke and we've got Heidi with us as well. So you guys are going to see everything from start to finish that goes into building a Princess Yachts. This one is going to be fascinating. So Ross, what's the plan for today?
Well, we thought, Nick, what we'll do is we'll show you what our clients go through when they come to visit the shipyard and see their boat in build. And we thought it'd be fun if we did that with an S80. So what we're going to do is show you through to what we do in a full-scale mock-up, through to our feeder factory, which is where we make all the component parts of the boat, then onto the build line, so understand how those component parts go into making the boat itself, and then we'll go down to the marina and see the finished article. Brilliant,
that is absolutely perfect. So we're heading up to the first stop on our tour. Where are we going, Ross?
We're going to South Yard, which is pretty historic place. It's the south end of the dockyard, and it's where they used to build all the warships back in the 1700s. And we've got these rather amazing buildings, the old ropery buildings that we inherited, or now the custodians of. We can't really do an awful lot with them because they're protected, they're grade 1 listed. So we make full-scale mock-ups of all of our boats in there, and have done for the last number of years. So every boat that anyone's seen that we've built, from the V40 to the 40 metre to the 70 to the S65 and indeed the S80, we make a mock-up in here, and they're pretty unique, as you're about to see, because it gives us a unique opportunity to walk through the boat, see how it feels, see how high the seats are, and the design team and the sales team can really engage with the boat and feel how it's going to be. The other benefit is for boats that are a long way into the distance, owners can fly in and really get an idea of what the boat's going to be like that they're buying.
Fantastic. And that, I think, is quite a crucial point, isn't it? Because a lot of this stuff is done on sort of CAD/CAM and all that, but you can't actually feel it until you can get in it.
Exactly. We use CAD a lot, and like you say, you can sort of visualise and get into it, but you can't sit there. You can't walk through it. You can't flow through the boat. So hopefully this is what you're going to see today, and you see the difference it makes. There's not many boat yards that have actual cannons as
wow, I didn't know that.
bollards.
Oh, these ones here. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah, they win arguments, that's for sure. So this is the largest naval base in Western Europe.
Wow.
It's 4 miles long.
Wow.
And we're at the southern end of it.
Okay.
The only thing we've built is the 40 metre tent, which is quite an impressive tent. The rest of it is actually how we've obviously improved it, but it's all naval. And then this is the ropery. So this is, I think it's 1,725 feet long.
Right.
The end was blown off in the Second World War, so it did originally come to there.
Yeah.
And each floor has no walls. which they used to make the rope, and that was the amount of rope needed
Oh, I see.
for a warship.
Wow. Oh, so literally a ropery.
Literally a ropery. So the floors are stone, so because obviously they made rope out of hemp and out of coconut husk, and obviously it was slap. So if you made it out of wood, it would wear it out. So it's all stone floors. It's pretty amazing.
That's astonishing. Okay, I'm in an area where I can't show you what's going on because it's top secret, but I do need to show you what an incredible building this is, because look how long this is down here. So this is inside the ropery, and if I swing on round, it goes off down that way as well. This is absolutely immense. Anyway, let's move on.
The bombers across the roof. This is where they coil them.
Wow, this is an amazing building, isn't it? Look at this.
This is the stand we took to Dusseldorf a couple of years ago when we launched the X95.
Right.
The story of the X95.
Okay, yeah.
And then...
Morning.
And there we are, this is the S80.
Wow, look at that, that's incredible. So we can now basically walk through the boat effectively.
Exactly, and the idea is that once the design team have done their drawings, and we've got to pretty much close to what we want to do, we make the mock-up. It's much easier, obviously, for us to change this than it is change the finished article.
Of course.
But the key is we get the heights correct, make sure it works, how it flows, so make sure there's no sharp edges, the boat flows nicely. On this boat, for example, we've changed the staircase round because the table was on the starboard side, and what we didn't want to be doing is having dinner and looking into the galley.
Right.
You might not have picked that up on a drawing, but would you pick it up on this one? This actually shows the enclosed bridge, but we can also take that away to show what it's like when it's got full open plan.
Yep.
So there's lots of things you can play around with in plywood. It's slightly trickier to do on a finished article.
Of course, yeah, because if once you build it, you're committed, aren't you, basically?
Committed. Yeah, very much so. But it's I mean, this is the boat. It's fairly incredible. We had a very successful S78, and this is really the next generation of that. So we've tried to make a slightly bigger galley, lots of storage to make it a useful boat. Princess, we really try and make our boats usable. Big opening window. There's a TV that pops out of there, so you can sit down in the cockpit watching TV. The cockpit really is the selling point. This is what the boat's all about.
Because this is basically the saloon doors here. So this is all outside.
And this is air conditioned, so we've got air conditioning vents out of here, so we've got nice cool air being blown onto everybody. Deep sides to stop the wind coming in, and then this real nice seating here at the back.
Fantastic.
Both of these chairs are movable, so and we'll see that on the finished article later.
And then we can come right through. This is the whole of the main deck. That would be the steps down, presumably to the lower deck.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then up here is the bridge. This is great. Look at this.
And it shows the opening hardtop, so that's what the gap is in the roof.
I've got you. Okay, up here. Yeah. And look at this building.
It's a very, very special building.
Bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah.
Proper heritage. Fantastic. That is great.
Look at the space there. It's a long way back, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a big boat. That is a big boat.
So we haven't mocked up the downstairs because this is a platform boat. So we have the S80, the X80 and the Y80. And downstairs is the 4-cabin layout, all the same. So engineering wise, the 80s are the same.
Yeah.
The hull was the same. It's been designed to be an X, a Y and an S.
Right.
So
the lower deck basically already exists in the models that are already out.
Exactly. The volume of the X, the more conventional style of the Y, and then the sportiness of the S. And the performance that goes along with those as well.
Of course. Fantastic.
These guys are amazing. What they do is they have originally quite a rough GA to build this from, and there's 4 full-time carpenters, and all they do is make these mock-ups.
Right.
So they get the first generation GA they build it from. This is like the latest generation. This is what we're building the boat on today. But you imagine you're going back 18 months, and what they can create is they're very clever men and ladies. So this rock face here is the old sea wall, basically. This is what the land used to be. And everything in front of that was reclaimed in the 1800s to make a pickling yard for the masts.
Right.
The masts used to come here and be pickled, and then build the yard for building the warships to be launched.
That's astonishing.
I'm just going to have a look up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. So what was this?
So this was literally a pagoda built for him to survey his fleet and his new dockyard. You imagine that's all new. Well, not new.
Yeah.
200, 300 years old.
It was in the day.
Yeah, exactly.
That's astonishing.
Have a cup of tea up here.
Look at this. It's proper history, isn't it? Okay, this is a very, very quick aside because this isn't actually Princess Yachts, although it is their building. So what we've got here is, well,
it's a cathedral. It's a boat building cathedral. This was built to make warships in the 1700s. Oak structure with a lead-lined roof. And now we lease it out to a company called Will Sterling, and they turn trees into beautiful hand-built wooden boats.
This is incredible. The boats are incredible, but look at this building. That is amazing. This here apparently is a 100-year-old Brixton trawler that's being completely rebuilt, and you can see another boat being refitted just about in behind it there. So these guys build the boats here, but they also look after this incredible building because it takes a lot of looking after. There's a lot of wood. Fantastic.
So yeah, the 95s are built in these two sheds. So there's 2 in that one, and we build 4 in this shed at a time. We've got some solar panels, hence the going on the roofs, and then this shed is where we build the deck and the hull for the 72s.
Wow.
The decks are joined in there.
That's another massive building, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how many factories have you got in total?
7 in total.
Right. Employing how many people?
3,300 people.
Wow.
Yeah, 1 million square feet of undercover manufacturing.
That's astonishing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how many boats a year do you build?
Around 215.
Right. So where's your next, Ross?
So we've seen the mock-up, so we understand now what the boat's going to be like. So I thought the next stage we need to see is we also make all our own tooling and plugs. So we're going to go now to see some 5-axis milling machines and how we come up with the holes and all the different fiberglass parts that we make.
Perfect. And there is another Princess factory, which I think is where we're going.
There's a few of them in Plymouth.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what we've got here, Nick, is a 5-axis milling machine. So if you look at the drill head, we've got a variety of different sized drill heads here.
Oh, okay, yeah, I see.
And what that does is that moves to the CAD design on these blocks of polystyrene foam.
Right.
And that will get it to a 0.8 of a millimetre accuracy. And we take it out, we'll cover it in a modelling clay, which we're going to see behind us in a moment, and then that will get us to a 1-to-1. The guys will then give it a light sand, and that's where we take our plugs from, and that's where the moulds come from for all the boats.
Wow.
So the S80, for example, has 260 individual fiberglass moulds, and they'll all be made here.
That's incredible.
So once we've cut the polystyrene that's next door, we stabilise it with some fiberglass, as you can see it here. And one of the team puts the modelling clay on, as you can see it's quite rough when it goes on. And then we'll go back in next door, and that's where we get the pinpoint accuracy to the finest product that we need.
Wow. Every stage is so labour intensive, isn't it?
So labour intensive, yeah. There's a lot of hands that touch your boat by the time it gets to the end.
Yeah. And this is just to make the moulds. This is not even.
Molds, yeah.
It's not even building the boat. This is building the bits to build the boat with.
Exactly.
Incredible.
But we do. This is part of why we try and make everything ourselves. So you control the quality, you control what you're doing. It just makes it more in-house product.
Brilliant.
So what we're looking at here is a finished mould, which now needs to leave. And this, to me, looks like a tray.
Right.
So on a Princess, we have a hull.
Yep.
We have a deck.
Yep.
But inside the hull, we have what we see here, the tray. This will drop into that, be bonded to the sides. You can actually see all the different bilge fittings.
Yeah.
And this is what all the furniture drops into. But it also gives the boat lots of strength.
Right.
So the hull strength, the stiffness of the tray, and then the stiffness of the deck on top of it. And
So this has been carved out by the milling machine.
Exactly.
So it was a solid block.
Exactly. Originally the polystyrene solid block, then the modelling clay on top of it. That was milled down, and now we see we'll clean this all up, we'll put the new gel coat on top of it, and when that comes out, a bit like a baking tray,
yeah,
cake tray, you have the plug which we'll make all the different moulds from.
That's incredible.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
The size of it.
Yeah, and that's, you can almost see it's the bow section as it curves in. You've got the side of the holes going up forward into the bow section. What's quite neat, you can actually see that's a shower tray there.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yep, that's this bit here. Yep. So that's where the heads will be. Amazing. So where to next, Ross?
Okay, so we're now going towards Coipel, and Coipel is what we call our feeder factory, and that's where we make all the guts of the boat, really. So we make the furniture. We've got a really nice furniture factory there, which we're going to have a look at. We make the wiring looms. We make all our metal work. We make our small moulds, so things like the wet bars, the helm stations, the deck heads, that type of thing. As also the hulls as well. So it's really part of our USP here. What stands us out a lot is the fact we make everything there, which is often contracted out. To make an S80 is about 35,000 hours, man hours.
Wow.
Now 15.5 of that is in the typical sense of it, so that's where we, on the build line, pushing all the bits together. And then we have that again where we're going to go now, so making the wiring looms, making the furniture, and making the hull.
And the thing that comes across, I think, is just how hand-built these things genuinely are. People often talk about hand-built, but these really are men with tools and women with tools, of course, putting this stuff together. Completely.
And part of that hand-builtness is what makes boats so special, and so I suppose, as you said before, expensive. You're dealing with a hand-built boat built by artisans, and we are really what our workforce. You don't create these boats without having some very skilled men and women. We're very proud of who we've got here, and there's a lot of years. Some of our guys have been here 40 years plus.
Wow.
And a lot have been here for 30 years, and a lot have been here for 20 years. So we're very lucky to have the workforce we do, because they are skilled and very dedicated. So this is Coipel. This is our feeder factory, and is a 26-acre site. The cars you can see on the left are Princess owned police cars.
No way.
We're not allowed to drive them, so we employ off-duty policemen to escort all of our larger loads, but it's pretty cool to have our own fleet of police cars. And then this is where we make all the guts of a Princess. It's also our training centre, so all of our apprentices and all of our new recruits come through here, and it's quite a fascinating place.
But there's quite a lot of road work in here, roads around the place, isn't there?
Very much so, yeah.
So surely we could nip back later, get a couple of those police cars, do a bit of a chase. I mean, because private ground.
They are tracked. they know they were in them. So I thought we'd start off by going to the beginning. We've seen the plugs being made. Let's go and actually see a hole being made out of one of those plugs.
And this here?
Yeah, so training, so we have wiring loom shop training in there, we have laminating, we have woodwork, so all the new recruits come in here and go through quite a training process. It's also, we're very proud of our apprenticeship program, and a lot of that happens in there as well. So here we are, the scaffolding you can see again, we're going through quite a phase. We've got a lot of roofs, we've got 1 million square feet of undercover manufacturing, so we're covering it in solar panels to try and compensate for some of our electricity and do our bit for the environment. Here we are, Nick, we've got your own parking space for you.
That's fantastic, look at that. Yes, it does, doesn't it? That is immense.
So this, Nick, is unit 55. This is an S80 hull, and that is an 85 hull.
Wow, you get a real sense of the scale from here, don't you? Look at the people in it. I mean, they look like ants almost. It's incredible. Look at this.
So what we saw being made on the 5-axis machine is the green bit. And then what you can see in here is actually a hull that's been resin infused, and now we're putting the stringers in, or spray rails, sorry, and then the bulkheads will start to go in, and then it'll be lifted from here and move over to where the other one is. That's another S80 next to it, and then the deck will go on and be joined.
Okay, so this, what we're seeing down here, this isn't actually boat, this is mould.
Exactly, it's a bit like a cake tin. So imagine an inverted cake tin, or an upside down cake tin. Then we paint the gel coat on, that's the white that we see when the boat comes out. We then put fiberglass onto it. We then put what you can see, the yellow, that's actually the foam core. And then we put more fiberglass on top of that. And then we put a load of pipe work through. We then put a plastic bag basically on top of it and seal it. And then we pull all the air out, and then we're ready to put the resin infusion and suck the resin through. This boat, the 80, takes 1.6 tons of resin just into the hull itself. And then you have the bulkheads, then you have the spray rails, which you can see here, and then the various other actions. It's a big old boat.
Yeah, that is absolutely incredible. Look at that. You don't get that sense of size somehow when you see them complete, even though they are the same size, but just seeing it completely open like that, that's amazing.
It's quite fun when you watch them being lifted out. So we've got these big beam cranes over our head. When they come in, we lift the whole thing out, and you can imagine this making the noise as it releases from the bowl. It's quite impressive.
And so what comes out of here is what's next to it.
Exactly, so have a look.
Right. So this is another S80?
S80 hull. If I look inside, this is nearly ready for the deck to go on. So there's a couple of stages ahead of what we saw next door. Spray rails are in, cross members are in, water tanks are being fitted, bulkheads are starting to go in, so they're laminated inside the hull. Then we're going to put a tray, so we saw that tray being made back at the machine. That will go in, and then we'll stick all the decks on.
So how many 80s have you got at any one time in the build process?
That's a very good question. In here, there's always 3 hulls.
Right.
And then when we go down to the build line, you'll see there are 7 boats in build at any one time in the build line, and normally 2 to 3 in test.
So that's about 12?
A lot of boats.
Of one model?
Of one model.
That's incredible.
This one's just been pulled. See, the windows haven't been cut out yet.
Ah, yes, of course. So you
Yeah.
see the windows in this one here?
Literally, it's still got the strap in there from where it's been pulled out of the mould.
That's incredible. So these are all 80s?
All 80s.
That's just one model. Bonkers.
So what really stands the 80 out from the rest of our range is it's a platform boat. So a client has the choice of having an S80, and that's this deck here. That's the S. So that's been gel coated now, and it's just rated the fiberglass. You can have a Y80, and that's the deck mold for the Y80. We can have an X80, and that's at the end.
Okay, so these are not bits of boat, these are the molds that the boats come
These
from.
are the decks.
Right, so you...
Decks for 3 different models, the hull remains the same, but the back end changes as long with the deck mold. But the engineering wise, the layout of the interior, downstairs, is all the same.
Brilliant.
Big old mold, isn't it?
Big old premises.
2 boats in here are built.
That's incredible.
85, which is what we call a U2. There's 2 in build at the end, and then a deck next to it. 2 bays over there where the trays are made, and then these are the 80s.
Fantastic. Wow.
Fuel tanks are made down there. We're not allowed in there because they're doing welding.
Okay.
Fuel tanks are made. And when I say we make everything,
Yeah.
we make everything. These are all the water tanks.
Okay.
So whether it's fresh water, black water or grey water, they're made in here.
Right.
So we cut them out of a polyurethane flat pack.
Yep.
So it comes in big sheets. We pre-cut that on our CNC machines. And what the guys do, it's lunch, hence why there's no one in there at the moment.
Right.
But they weld them together. So a bit like when you're at school, you had the glue guns.
Yep.
Their glue guns are a bit more industrial.
Okay, wow, yep.
Yep.
Looks like a prop from Star Wars.
It does a bit. And what this does is gives us the ability to utilise as much space as we've got in the builders as possible.
Okay.
The biggest tanks we can in there.
So these are actually shaped specifically to fit into the V of the hull of the boat?
The specific model that this tank goes into. So this won't be the same for a 65 and a 72.
Yep.
They're individually made for what space is available. Fully baffled, obviously, so you don't get the sloshing around. Pressure tested and also act tested. Fill it full of water, pressure test it, and then fill it full of air, pressure test it.
Amazing.
Metal. This is where all the tank plates are cut. The checker plate for the engine room. Again, lunchtime while it's a bit quiet, it's quite nice.
Yep.
So here we are in the wiring loom shop. The shop makes all the cable for the boats, whether it's a US spec boat or whether it's a rest of the world spec. We build just under 2,000 miles of cable in here every single year. So
2,000 miles?
2,000 miles, so that's London to Istanbul.
Wow.
Or from Miami to Maine. So it's a lot of cable. The S80 has about 1.6 tons of cable in it, which is about 40 kilometres in one boat.
That's
so a lot of cable.
insane, isn't it?
These are basically, so depending on whether you've got 3 TVs, 5 TVs, whether you've got stereo systems, whatever happens, runs along the, you can see it's got measurements on it, and it creates your wiring loom specific to each boat.
Okay, so every wiring loom is effectively custom made for the specification of that boat?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. And then behind us we see anything that's got a pump or a distribution board is made on one of these benches here. So the guys have the ability to work in a nice environment. They're not on the shop floor working with other trades. They make this one's a distribution box. We have a pump over there again. So when wiring goes into the boat, so when they plug these in, or another one over there, just to your right hand side, the wiring loom is already there, and it's a bit of a plug and play process.
Okay. Ah, yeah, I'm with you.
What I'm talking about? And all labelled, so you know exactly what it is. And then all our cabling is labelled every 3 feet.
Look at this cabling.
So these are the cable drums that will go down to the build line, filled with the different types of wire we have. So you get an idea of where the weight comes from at one point. Feel that?
Wow. Yeah.
It's quite
A
impressive.
weighty bit of. I can understand now why there's. Oh, look at that.
Pretty nice. So you've got galley lights on there. It will tell you exactly which galley light. So if you ever need to do any work, trace it back to exactly what it is.
So this is basically what the wiring loom is.
Exactly. They've got measurements all the way down. So depending where it branches off on the boat, and whether it's going from the engine room to the stateroom, or engine room to the transom, or from the helm to maybe to the flybridge, it depends on where it comes off here and the length you need.
That is incredible.
So this is our metal shop. So we make everything on board the boat bar the bow rails, and that's really from a real estate point of view. So we buy those in from a company called Cooney. A long relationship with them. Everything else though, from table pedestals to rings to, I don't know if you can see over there, there's an up-down mechanism for a drop TV, mechanism for our windows, up-down windows, and quite a complicated table that's going to pull apart and go back together. Is all made in here. Down to, this is a 2X, so an X2, which is a V50.
Okay.
And that's just the different parts. I don't actually know what that's going to be for, but you can see multiple kits. So the guys in the line don't have to go scribbling around for them. They've got them all in front of them, ready to fit. Backing plates. So that's going to be one side of a piece of fiberglass, and then we're going to bottom the table to that. There's your lifting mechanism. Staircases.
Ah.
So that'd be a flybridge staircase for a S65 or an S72.
Yep.
War piece of kit. Half rail on the back of a V-boat. You see the little flagstaff there, holder.
Yep.
Masts.
Ah, yes. So these are for on top of the radar arches.
And of course all the polish machines, the weld machines. These are the trays. So that's a bow tray there.
Okay.
You can see that's where the toilet sits. You can see the half-moon shape. The toilet sits in there. All the other furniture drops in. And obviously bilge access where we've got the tray cut out.
And when we saw the milling machine, we saw the mould for one of these, didn't we?
Exactly
that, yeah. So this is what comes out of those moulds.
This is quite interesting. So we have one of these being laid up. So that's the raw fiberglass going onto the mould. So the gel coat has gone down.
Right.
And now applying the fiberglass. So depending on the layout schedule, it's stuck down in different directions, different thickness of fiberglass and different weave patterns for different strengths. So it really is going to a science. Resin infusion has turned it from a lot of man hours and labour to almost science. Very clean. And we have one over here that's just been infused. So you can see the blue is the bag.
Right.
Quite simply sealed onto the part that's been infused.
Yep.
Pipework goes all around. And then what we do, once all the air's pumped up, we pull the resin in from one side and out at the other. And if this piece takes 600 kilograms of resin, 600 kilograms of resin goes in. Rather than relying on manpower to handle it, lay it up, and you're judging on the individual to how much they put on there, this is more of a science.
So this bag has to be basically completely airtight.
Correct. It's not there yet.
Yep. And then it's that vacuum that draws the resin through.
Exactly.
Wow. That's immense.
So what we're looking at here, Nick, this is an 85 hull.
Right.
And the next stage that's going to happen is they're going to put the bag on. Pipework is all in, so you can see the pipework running up the hull.
Yep.
Anything that is green is a through hole fitting. So you've
okay.
got shafts, P brackets, rudders, fin stabilizers and bow thruster at the front.
Right.
The red is solid fiberglass, so there's no foam core.
Okay.
And then put the bag on top of that. We'll take all the air out of the bag, and then this will be infused. The infusion process for an 85 is probably only about 5 hours.
Right,
so
really?
The entire hull will be infused in 5 hours.
Wow. Because if you had to hand roll that in the old days, that would have been...
Yeah. The process probably takes a similar amount of time because the layout takes its period of time.
Right.
The infusion is quick, and then we leave it for a period of time while we put the bulkheads in, spray rails.
Of course, yes. As we're getting the prep time, it's obviously quite intensive.
Interesting to see.
Yeah, fantastic.
It's how clean it is.
Yes.
And they smell.
Yeah, amazing.
Here, Nick, is all our small molds, or one of our small molds facilities. So we have right in front of us is a F65 helm station.
Okay.
And a variety of other things from fuel tanks to deck heads, all being made. So those molds, again, we saw being made back in the other facility. This is where it actually turned into the finished article.
Right.
And again, if you think about a cake tin, you can only take out what you put in, so you can't be any corners.
Right.
So if there's ever any corners, that's another mould.
Okay.
So you join them all together, like this one is. That's probably about 4 or 5 different pieces.
Okay.
And then it'll go next door, and that's where we turn it, shape those all off, and gel them up.
So how many small moulds would you get typically in a boat?
260 in the S80.
Is it? Wow.
260.
A lot. That is a lot.
Okay, so once they're made, they come into this facility, and this is where we make them right. So you can see you have what we call green, and this is what we need to trim off, paint with gel coat, buff up, over laminate if necessary, make into the finished piece, and that's what everybody in here is doing.
Wow.
It's lunchtime, so it's a bit quiet.
Yeah, good time to film. It just goes on and on, doesn't it? I mean, it's
a big facility.
Yeah.
So you've got a roof here, so this is a sliding roof.
Okay.
So imagine you've got the glass sections going here.
Yeah.
Bins, very simple. You've got to have somewhere to put your ropes or your fenders or your life rafts.
Yeah.
So the buff is, obviously needs buffing, but we don't make these en masse.
Right.
If you walk around, you'll see this is made for a slot and for an owner. So you don't make 20 of these and wait to sell them. Every part you see, whether it's furniture, whether it's stainless steel, or whether it's GRP, is made for a slot number and an end owner.
Amazing. So once somebody makes an order and a deal and it's going through, that's when everything starts to get built, put together, and then brought together.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. More down there. So there's another on this side next door.
You do get a real sense of the sheer scale when you see places like this.
Very much so. And when you realise, again, we're on lunch, there's nobody in here at the moment.
Yeah.
Which is a curse and good. It's quite nice, it's quiet.
Yeah.
But you don't see the work. There's a seating arrangement. Just trying to work out what that's for. I think that's a sun pad on the back of an S65.
Okay.
There's another seat.
Of course, a lot of this stuff is upside down, isn't it? Which makes it a bit harder to recognise.
So there's your helm console.
Okay.
Steering wheel.
Yeah.
You can see what I mean when they join them?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's going to have to be sanded off or ground out. Then we over laminate with gel.
Yeah.
Polish it all up.
Yeah. Because you can't have a mould that kind of comes down and back under itself because you wouldn't physically get the thing out.
Yeah, exactly. And then these are a bit more finished. And the idea is when it leaves this facility, a bit like our furniture we're going to see in a moment, if it's got a sink, it's fitted. If it's got a fridge, it's fitted. If it needs insulation, it's fitted. If it needs painting, it's done. So when it goes to the boat, it's fitted on the boat and there's no more interaction.
Which is why this one here is grey, because that's been painted.
Exactly. It's ready to go now. We make the fly bridges here as well.
Right.
Go to the fly bridge, be fitted, done.
Fantastic.
So next, we'll go to an area that smells the best in the factory, and that's the wood shop.
Okay, brilliant.